Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Josh.
And I'm Matt. Welcome to the Nightly on Hatch, a slumber party for pop culture lovers. Good evening, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Good evening to you. I have been kind of like in a little cave reading scripts for like inspiration and instruction on a little project I'm working on, which I like because I like when reading is the job and it's like I didn't even have to write anything. I just got to read. What's up with you? What's new?
That is nice. Is that so? You're not making notes or anything. It's just for inspiration, so just into your head.
I'm doing like a little note taking for structure, but mostly I'm just kind of like reading and letting the kind of formatting and pacing sink in. And then the next step, I think, is going back and taking some more notes because I have a script that I need to kind of reformat. And so I'm reading stuff in the right format to like get the rhythm and the cadence of it down.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
That is often the best way to do anything, I think, is watch. I do it if I'm struggling to write any stand-up,
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch a load of stand-up specials. And it's obviously not to take any material, but just to get yourself thinking in the right way again, because I think you can overthink it sometimes.
Right. How can I interrogate these ideas? Like, what are some other skills I can apply? Yeah, I think that's so helpful. There are certain people that when I watch them, I sound too much like them afterwards, so I have to be careful.
Yes.
Jim Gaffigan is the big one for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
It's so easy, isn't it, to stray into it, especially if it's someone that you really enjoy and admire.
Yep. And someone with such a strong specificity where you're just like, oh, it's so easy to sink into what he's doing because it's so distinctive.
Yeah. But just very quickly, I watched Joe List's special in the gym today.
Very funny.
Really enjoyed it. It's absolutely brilliant.
I met him, we were both really young when we were both still in Boston. And so I've known him for 20 years.
Seems like a really lovely guy. Seems like a normal person.
There's this bit, I forget if it's on the new special, but he did a set with Don't Tell comedy that's online. That is, you watch it in the morning, folks, once you're back up and about getting into your day, where he talks about not knowing when Picasso was alive and thinking it was like the 1400s when it was like the mid 1900s, and just realizing like Picasso was alive for 3 Super Bowls or whatever.
Again, that's so, because that's exactly
so
a
good.
thought that I've had. I have exactly the same thought, but it's it's frustrating. That's a great comedian.
It's such a comfort being like okay with portraying yourself as someone who like doesn't know something that might otherwise be obvious to other people, right? Like the humility of like, I'm going to be revealing of myself in this way in hopes that people relate to it rather than judge me for it. Cause I think everybody has something that is like a pretty bold, easily accessible fact that is just like not accessible to them. I have tons of that.
Yeah. And that actually, Josh, is a brilliant segue into what we're doing tonight, which is a round of Drowsy History.
This will be perfect because I am very drowsy and I barely remember anything.
And if you've not listened before, that is exactly the premise of Drowsy History. It's sort of like a history class, but absolutely not accurate and hopefully reasonably entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please don't take notes on this. Just let it wash over you and take kind of the general historical vibe of what we're doing settle in.
That's it. Yeah, it's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's nothing more
Feelings
than that.
of history.
So, Josh, it's the late 1700s.
Great.
And there is a ship called HMS Bounty. That's English ship, obviously Her Majesty's ship, Bounty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a huge ship, not like a massive pirate galleon or anything, just a reasonably sized wooden boat. And William Bligh is the captain. Now, he's either painted in history as a real tyrant or as just a bit of a kind of strict leader. So
Sure.
a bit, either like the devil or just a bit of a nightmare boss.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to know where that line is sometimes.
Isn't it just? And then when it gets so far in history and people, it gets passed down generations, it probably started off as William Bligh is a little bit difficult to make small talk with.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give it 200 years and it's like William Bligh is the worst person I've ever met in my life.
One of the greatest monsters in history. Yeah.
So I reckon it's somewhere in between, basically. And William Bligh and the rest of HMS Bounty are sent on a mission to Tahiti, where they are to collect breadfruit plants, which is it's a long way to go for fruit. Have you had breadfruit before? Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had breadfruit.
Neither have I. It's not really caught on, has it?
It's certainly not where I live.
No.
You're not finding it on every street corner. It does sound appealing.
It does, yeah. I wonder how much of that is to do with this mission that it's not caught. Because it's not like no one has like overnight oats with blueberries and breadfruit. Yeah. I don't even know what it's good for.
No, me either. I'm just picturing a fruitcake.
Yeah. Which, if it is fruitcake, I'd go to Tahiti to get fruitcake.
Mm-hmm.
I love a bit of fruitcake. So this is Tahiti, breadfruit, Bounty's on the way. It's the British Empire as a whole have said, look, we need you to go and grab us some of this fruit. And
long grocery run for Her Majesty.
Long old grocery run. And not for the essentials either. This is like just for the... It's for the weird extra stuff.
The kind of grocery run it feels like you would do maybe for someone who is pregnant.
Yeah. The Queen had some, or the King at this point, had some really odd cravings.
Yeah. You go, oh, sure, I love you so much. I'll go to Tahiti to get your breadfruit.
So it's months, obviously.
Yeah.
England to Tahiti, long way when you're just being powered by the wind. So it's all salted meat. It's miserable, isn't it? It's damp, sweaty. You got no privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Just this wooden boat, load of other blokes knocking around for months on end. Then they get to Tahiti and it's amazing. It's like a sandals holiday, like just beaches, sea.
Were they well received by the people of Tahiti, or were they like, what are you doing here?
They were.
Okay.
Yeah, weirdly, they got on really well because the crew of the Bounty bought stuff.
But like a cultural exchange. They're like, oh, we got something for you, and then we got to go home with some good breadfruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're there for like, I don't know how long they're there for, but long enough to get used to sitting about on a beach, going in the sea, just having a really chilled, nice life.
Sounds so much better than being on that boat.
So much better. And that is where the problems lie, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is infinitely better than being on the boat. So when Captain Bligh says, right, time to go, which is obviously, that's going to be one of the least popular sentences you can ever speak, isn't it?
Yeah, time to leave Tahiti, get back on our wooden ship, and bring a bunch of plants home to the king.
Yeah. So they do it. They get on the boat and they set off into the sea, which is when a big portion of the crew, led by a man called Fletcher Christian, decide that they don't actually want to leave Tahiti. They would much rather stay in the tropical paradise and not get back on the boat for months. So Fletcher Christian and the other mutineers take control of the ship while William Bligh is asleep. So there's no cannon fire, like no sword fight. They literally, I think they just tied him up, the captain.
Pretty clean work.
Really good, yeah. I mean, really impressive, actually. Just went into his cabin and just done.
How much, like, what percentage of the crew do we know? Is it like most of the crew is like, yeah, we're not going back. We got to get off this boat post haste?
That is an excellent question, actually. I would say, based on what happens later on, I reckon there's about 40 people who were against it.
Okay.
Maybe about the same who were for it.
Okay, so it's a split decision.
Roughly an even split.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to go with. And so they've got control of the ship. Daylight comes and they put Captain Bligh and his supporters in an open boat. So just like a rowing boat.
Yep.
They give him, they put a sail on it. So they've got a sail, they've got oars. They've got a couple of big barrels of water, a couple of barrels of meat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's enough for like a month, maybe.
Okay.
They shove them off. So Captain Bligh and his crew just get pushed off, and they're just out in this boat. And the mutineers head back to Tahiti.
I will say, if I'm a mutineer, the polite thing to do, I think, would be to take the little boat and go back, and you leave them the big boat to go where they gotta go.
It's a great point. The thing is with mutineers, Josh,
go on.
They haven't got the interests of the captain at heart.
Yeah,
necessarily.
that's true. That's true.
And so if the opportunity to have a big boat is on the table, they're going to take the big boat.
They're going big boat. Yeah.
They're going to go big boat.
Which is the superior boat. I acknowledge. I too would want the big boat.
But I get the feeling with you, Josh, you're such a nice person. I think you probably would. You would leave the big boat and you'd just say, I'll just swim it. I'll just swim back.
Well, I'd take the little one. I'd say, you guys got further to go. You got to go this breadfruit back to the homeland. And
You've got further to go.
Yeah. Me and my crew, we're just making a U-turn right here, heading back to the beach.
Yeah. Well, actually, here's a point. I think one of the reasons they did decide to take the big boat is because long term, the idea was that once we go back to Tahiti, eventually we will have to leave there and find another island, because otherwise it'll be easy for the British Navy to find us on this island.
Okay. All right. So they're not just retiring. They're like, we're deserters, essentially.
I think, yeah, and we're going to set up a new life.
And now we're fugitives. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I see why you go big boat.
So Captain Bligh sets off into the open ocean, and he hasn't got anything to navigate with apart from, I think he's got a compass and he's got the stars.
Wow.
And this is the remarkable thing. He sails this open boat for 3,500 miles and eventually makes it back to England.
Wow.
Yeah, which is incredible, where he then recounts the story to the Admiralty and the rest of the Navy, and they set off to go and look for the mutineers. So while that's going on, the mutineers have gone back to Tahiti. Some of them end up on an island. So they leave Tahiti and go to Pitcairn Island, which is a super green, quiet, like it's so out the way. I don't think it's even on maps at this point.
Wow.
So you wouldn't find them. Long story short, they look for the mutineers. They don't find any. Or they find a couple in Tahiti, I think, and they decide to let them off. And then it transpires that, yeah, the other ones are in Pitcairn Island. They're never found. And to this day, there is descendants on I think all the inhabitants of Pitcairn Island, I think, are all descendants of mutineers from HMS Bounty.
I didn't know about that. Wow.
Well, I could be wrong.
You've got, yeah, sure. We're very sleepy. You've got to think, if you leave your captain in a rowboat, you take the big boat, the HMS, you go back to the island that you aren't supposed to be on, and then he comes back like years later. That's going to be one of the worst feelings when you see him.
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh,
just seeing that, the same, like, yeah, that ship coming over the horizon and that the bad boss. Yeah.
It reminds me of one of my favorite street jokes, which I think I read in Drew Carey's book like years and years ago. But it's like a guy sitting on his couch and he hears a tiny knock at the front door to his house. And he opens the door and there's a snail knocking on the door. And the guy goes, huh? And he takes the snail and he just throws it as far as he can. He's like, get out of here, snail. And then 7 years later, the same guy sitting on the same couch hears another tiny knock on the door. He opens the door. There's a tiny snail shaking his fist. The guy picks up the snail, holds him up to his ears, and goes, hey man, what the hell was that all about?
It's such a good joke, that. Do you know what's really weird? I was literally talking about that because when I'm on the road, there's obviously Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. There's a lot of comedians on the road. Mm-hmm. And to keep each other company, we always phone each other and just talk for like 3 or 4 hours while we're driving. And I was literally not 2 days ago talking to a mate of mine about that joke and about other jokes like that, because there's so many variations of it.
Yeah.
You know, you can slightly change like how long the gap is,
Right.
or what the snail says afterwards. Yep. And everyone's got their own sort of their little touch on it, which I love. I love jokes like that.
Yeah, me too. It's just like so funny to tell a joke about a mad snail.
It is. It's great. It's such a funny visual.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So, well, there you go, Josh. That's Mutiny on the Bounty.
That's a good. So I knew of that story, but I didn't know any of the specifics. I just knew there was a bounty, there was a mutiny, and I didn't know any of the rest of it. So I'm thank you for enlightening me.
It's absolutely my pleasure, and hopefully you all got something from that. Hopefully I got most of it right. It's a great story.
Great story. Yeah. I like the idea that it was split that evenly. And obviously Captain Bligh was probably not happy about being tied up and sent out to sea. But like the fact that the other half of or however many supporters, they just kind of went, you got us. You know what? Que sera, sera.
Yeah. It would have been a real roller coaster, I think, for Captain Bligh in terms of his ego.
Mm-hmm.
Because 1 minute you are getting tied up and locked in your own cabin, not great. And you're getting put in a boat and sent out to sea. But all those people that are coming with you, they've got the option to go to a sort of paradise island and live out the rest of the days in a wonderful place. And they decided to come and hang out with you.
On a tiny boat, you gotta go thousands of miles with just like nothing good going on, no amenities. And you're like a maniac. Instead of going, you know what, I see their point, I'm going to see things their way, and maybe we hang out in the tropics, we find a place where we're not going to bother anybody, we just enjoy ourselves. Instead, he was like, I got to get home and I got to snitch.
Yeah, you got to admire that. We've got to get back to Britain, back to salted meats and poverty, and find those people trying to do the best for themselves.
Yep. And not only that, we're going to go, and then we're turning back around to dole out some discipline. Gosh, wow. This guy, I don't think I would have liked to hang out with him, but I like knowing that there's somebody out there that just cares so much about his breadfruit mission.
Yeah, totally. Bear in mind as well, it's a 3-month journey.
Yeah.
Like that. You've really got to hold a grudge for, like, someone cut me up on the road a couple of days ago and it really, really annoyed me for about 45 seconds. Mm-hmm. But imagine if 3 months later I was still going, I am going to find that guy. If it kills me, I'm going to get him.
Yeah, I'm going to get a new car.
Yeah.
Because he took my car. I'd go back for him. And to navigate by a compass and the stars in a rowboat.
It's so impressive.
Whenever anyone can navigate by the stars, I'm impressed, because the only place I can get by looking at the stars is the sky. I go, that's for sure up. That's the direction.
Yeah, that's so true. I reckon I could get, the North Stars are pretty.
I could probably go north by the North Star, but I don't know, because they couldn't have just been like, oh, thank goodness, it's just due north from here.
That would have been a real happy coincidence, wouldn't it?
Like
that's the only way that we're surviving. If we've got to go directly north.
Oh, we're just going straight up and down on the map.
And we'd be doing that for 4 hours until we realise it's an aeroplane.
Yep.
And then, good job we've not got to do that.
Thank goodness. In fact, our only obligation is to get to bed, and I know how to get there even without the stars. So, good night. I'm gonna turn in. Good night, Matt. Talk to you soon.
Good night, Josh.